Hey there, movie lovers! Welcome back to Yousaf Reacts, where we dive deep into the world of cinema. Today, we're talking about a film that's a royal gem, The King's Speech. This 2010 historical drama, directed by Tom Hooper, not only swept the Oscars but also touched hearts worldwide. So, let's unpack what makes this movie a true masterpiece. In case you haven't seen it yet, The King's Speech follows the journey of Prince Albert, who later becomes King George VI, as he struggles with a debilitating stammer. With World War II looming and the nation in need of a strong leader, he turns to an unconventional speech therapist, Lionel Logue, for help. What unfolds is a powerful story of friendship, courage, and the human spirit. Let's start with the performances. Colin Firth, who plays the future King George VI, delivers an incredible performance. His portrayal of the king's frustration and vulnerability is so authentic. It's no wonder he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. Every pause, every stutter feels real and makes you root for him even more. Then there's Geoffrey Rush as Lionel Logue. His chemistry with Colin Firth is nothing short of brilliant. Rush brings a warmth and humor to the role that perfectly balances Firth's intensity. Their evolving friendship is the heart of the film, and it's what keeps you glued to the screen. Now, let's talk about the film's direction. Tom Hooper does a fantastic job of making a seemingly small story feel grand and significant. The close-up shots, the use of space, and the choice to frame the king in isolation during moments of self-doubt really drive home the sense of loneliness and pressure he faces. It's a masterclass in visual storytelling. Of course, we can't forget the screenplay by David Seidler. What's remarkable is how the script weaves humor into the story without diminishing the gravity of the situation. The dialogue feels natural, and the pacing is spot on, building up to that unforgettable climactic speech. But beyond the technical brilliance, The King's Speech resonates because it's a deeply human story. It's about overcoming personal demons, the fear of inadequacy, and the importance of support and friendship. In a world where leaders are expected to be flawless, this film reminds us that vulnerability can be a strength. So, whether you're a history buff, a fan of character-driven dramas, or just looking for a film that's both inspiring and beautifully crafted, The King's Speech is a must-watch. It's a film that speaks to all of us, pun intended, tasked with serving as the voice of freedom and leading a nation into conflict with Adolf Hitler's Nazis. The future king of the United Kingdom, King George VI, must first address a chronic, debilitating condition. As Prince Albert of York struggles to overcome his stammering problem to no avail, his wife, the worried Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, seeks help from unconventional London speech therapist Lionel Logue. But to deal with the terrible speech impediment, Prince Albert must persevere through fear and humiliation to take on the burden of the monarchy. And with courage, determination, and unexpected friendship, the nation will eventually have a leader. Prince Albert, Duke of York, later King George VI, Bertie Colin Firth, the second son of King George V. Speaking at the close of the 1925 British Empire exhibition at Wembley Stadium, with his wife Elizabeth Helena Bonham Carter by his side. His stammering speech unsettles the thousands of listeners in the audience. The prince tries several unsuccessful treatments and gives up, until the Duchess persuades him to see Lionel Logue. Geoffrey Rush, an Australian speech therapist in London. In their first session, Logue requests that they address each other by their Christian names, a breach of royal etiquette. Logue is unorthodox in his approach and Albert is not convinced it will be of any help. Logue makes a recording of Bertie with full music in background so Bertie can't hear himself and then gives it to Bertie. In 1934, King George V. Michael Gambon declares Bertie's older brother unfit for the throne and then demands Bertie to improve his speech. He plays Logue's recording and then finds himself speaking perfectly. He returns to Logue and then he gently probes the psychological roots of the stammer. The prince reveals some of the pressures of his childhood, his strict father, the repression of his natural left-handedness, a painful treatment with metal splints for his knock knees, a nanny who favored his elder brother David, the Prince of Wales, deliberately pinching Bertie at the daily presentations to their parents so he would cry and his parents would not want to see him. And unbelievably not feeding him adequately. It took my parents 3 years to notice, says Bertie. And the early death in 1919 of his little brother Prince John. Logue and Bertie become friends. On January 20, 1936, George V dies, and David, the Prince of Wales Guy Pearce, accedes to the throne as King Edward VIII, and wants to marry Wallis Simpson Eve Best, an American divorcee, which would provoke a constitutional crisis. Bertie confronts David, who only accuses Bertie of having designs of his own and makes fun of his speech impediment. Even Logue suggests that Bertie can be king, and this causes a rift in their friendship as Bertie is not thinking in that way. When King Edward VIII does in fact abdicate to Mary, Bertie becomes King George VI. Feeling overwhelmed by his accession, the new king realizes that he needs Logue's help, and he and the Queen visit the Logue's residence to apologize. When the king insists that Logue be seated in the king's box during his coronation in Westminster Abbey, Dr. Cosmo Gordon Lamb, the Archbishop of Canterbury Derek Jacobi, questions Logue's qualifications. This prompts another confrontation between the king and Logue, who explains he had begun by treating shell-shocked soldiers in the last war. When the king still isn't convinced about his own strengths, Logue sits in steady Edward's chair and dismisses the Stone of Scone as a trifle. The king remonstrates with Logue for his disrespect. The king then realizes that he is as capable as those before him. Upon the September 1939 declaration of war with Germany, George VI summons Logue to Buckingham Palace to prepare for his radio speech to the country. As the king and Logue move through the palace to a tiny studio, Winston Churchill, Timothy Spall, reveals to the king that he, too, had once had a speech impediment but had found a way to use it to his advantage. The king delivers his speech as if to Logue, who coaches him through every moment. As Logue watches, the king steps onto the balcony of the palace with his family, where thousands of Londoners gathered to hear the speech over loudspeakers, cheer and applaud him. A final title card explains that, during the many speeches King George VI gave during World War II, Logue was always present. It is also explained that Logue and the king remained friends, and that King George VI made Lionel Logue a commander of the Royal Victorian Order in 1944. This high honor from a grateful king made Lionel part of the only order of chivalry that specifically rewards acts of personal service to the monarch. It is a very touching and quite inspiring story about a man psychologically scarred and trapped in a situation from which he could have no escape and facing it with immense courage. It so happens that he was royal, and that was a large part of his problem, but the film isn't so much about royalty as a human story. The film conveyed very powerfully in the opening scene the enormity of what was required of him. As the film develops, the complexities of the character are revealed. The acting is superb, especially from the three principals. And the development of the troubled and sparky relationship at the heart of the film is a joy to watch. The film is very funny and the characters have warmth and humanity. The film is well-paced, and carries you along to the emotional climax, so that, even though I knew the story, it had me holding my breath. If you don't need lots of action or special effects in your film, and enjoy seeing top-notch actors at the very peak of their craft, this will be for you. You might also, as I did, gain a bit more insight into the human drama behind a significant, but relatively unexplored period of British history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. And hey, what did you think of the King's speech? Did it move you as much as it did me? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep watching great movies.